Welcome everybody to episode 6 of the Zion Experience. We have a special guest today. One of my friends. I can call him a friend. He's been a mentor. He was my teacher. He was my educator. He's the man that got me interested in why I'm an industrial engineer today, and we'll maybe share that story a little bit later. But we're coming to you live. I've got a couple guests on. We had to make a little bit of a game day or call a little bit of an audible. We had some technical difficulties on our normal StreamYard that we use for video and the podcast. And so this is either going to come to you in video or it just might be an audio. Either one will be good. But I've got Raegan, who's starting with us. Just recently started with Zion in our marketing group. Raegan's on with us. And then we've got our normal stay, Jacob, on. And then, of course, our guest, the man of the hour, John Usher, Dr. John Usher from the University of Louisville. So welcome to episode 6 of the Zion Experience. And then you've got me, of course, if you can't see me because the video's not on. This is Jimmy Shaw with Zion Solutions Group. So let me introduce John. I've got a little bit of a bio, so I'm going to read a little bit of it, but then I'm going to go off script. And we're very excited to have John on with us today, Dr. Usher on with us. I'll probably mix both of them in. He tells me call him John, but Dr. Usher is what he's known as. So Dr. Usher is a professor at of industrial engineering at the University of Louisville. He's been on the faculty at Louisville since 1987. I was 7 years old. Raegan, you probably weren't born yet. Jacob, I don't know, brother. Were you born yet?
No, I was not. I was born in 2000, so
one out of 3 was there when Dr. Usher started his career. He's done numerous 100+ research publications. He's directed numerous grants in areas of reliability engineering, quality control, facility layout, material handling systems, which is near and dear to our heart. We're going to talk a lot about those last two today. And he's spent an incredible 36 years at the University of Louisville. He's served in numerous roles. He's been a faculty member. He's been the head of the department, or the department chair, as they call it. He's been the director of an institute or institute director. He's been associate dean, and he even acted as the dean of the entire engineering school for 2 years, which he can share with us. So, John, we're glad to have you. Always good to talk. Full disclaimer, we recorded this once. We had technical difficulties that time as well, but we've got, so we're re-recording, but we're going to ask some new questions. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we had a blast last time that we got to talk. So, John, did I miss anything in your bio of introducing you? Did I do it justice, or what do you think?
Perfect job. Always one of my favorite students, and you did a great job. And there's a few details in there over 36 years, but we won't be able to go into all of them. But I think you hit the high points. It's great to be on with you guys.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad to have you. And we've got Raegan. Actually, we'll go back. Raegan is going into her sophomore year at the University of Kentucky. So we got a little bit of the U of L and UK rivalry going on. They've already given each other grace and said it's okay. I still will talk to you. You're at U of L, you're at UK, but we'll agree to disagree. And then Jacob is riding high. He is a recent graduate of the University of Georgia. Super pumped. He graduated 2 or 3 weeks ago. He's a dog. Their chest is out. They feel good about themselves with their football team.
Well, we've won a few championships.
Talking smack. We've got one of the other co-founders is Drew Eubank, and he's a big Georgia Bulldog. I went to U of L obviously with that, but I'm not a sports guy, so I don't get in the middle of it. I was a UK guy till they lost to Duke in 1992, I think. And something got sucked out of me that night in Hodgeville, Kentucky, and I just never really felt the same about basketball again. So thanks, Christian Leitner. You're not welcome in the state of Kentucky still. They did a 30 for 30 or something where he drove through the state, which is pretty funny. And he probably is. There's some people that take their UK basketball extremely serious, and totally off subject. Jacob told me he's going to keep me on subject, and I told him
Yeah.
good luck. But we did just
let's lead in
lose.
the first question. You're talking about Kentucky, University of Louisville. What kind of kept you at University of Louisville for, your whole kind of 36 years? Did you consider maybe changing to another institution at some point, or?
Good question. I mean, it's a long path. I could go way back, but I mean, I was born in Louisville. I grew up here. I live here with my family. I have 4 kids. But back after I went to U of L, got my bachelor's and my master's in industrial engineering, decided to go off and get a PhD, and I ended up at NC State. And then after I graduated there, while I was working on my dissertation, I worked for IBM down there as a reliability engineer and interviewed a bunch of different places and had offers at Rutgers and Pittsburgh. And at the last minute, Louisville had an opening. And since I was from here and had met my wife here, even though she's from New York, but she went to school here, all of our friends were here, we decided to come back to Louisville. And I thought, I can always go back to industry and work for IBM anytime. And so I guess I'll grab this faculty position. And so to your question, I guess over the years, yes, there were opportunities at other schools, not at UK, but they don't have an industrial engineering program there. They do have an engineering school that's great, but I don't know. I just fit and I just loved it. You get great students like Jim and many others. And I don't know, there's just something about working with young people and being in an academic environment, doing research, teaching. I'm a kind of a wannabe stand-up comedian, I guess, performer. It's always fun to be in the classroom and joke around. And I don't know, it's a very, very unique career choice. And so while there were some opportunities at some other places that I could have taken, I really honestly never thought about leaving Louisville. I just feel at home here. It is my home and I love it. And it's just been a great career. So I wouldn't want to change a thing. I really literally would not change a thing.
That's awesome. And you told me something last time when we talked. I did not realize that your wife was also a professor and taught for several years. And so what did she teach?
She was a professor over in the College of Business, taught economics. She'd been over there, I want to say 25 years, and she just retired last year. And she's fantastic. It's so funny. We'll go to a restaurant and I'll hear somebody say, Professor Usher. And I'll turn around, thinking, oh, here comes one of my students. It's never for me. It's always her. She used to teach, well, she taught these massive sections of like 150 students in each one. And these kids just run up to her, Professor Usher, and they loved her. And she's hilarious. She's been a fantastic professor over there. And so both of us between that, this academic sort of lifestyle, it's just, it's been great. We love it.
It's awesome.
I mean, I know that you did industrial engineering for the whole time that you were there, teaching and stuff. I guess kind of how has that program grown while you were there, and kind of what are some of your favorite moments over those 36 years at the U of L?
So many. I mean, little things like coming in back to a program that I graduated from, and now I'm working with the professors that were my professors, and now they're colleagues. And so sort of like Jim, like, do I call you Dr. Usher or John? I had to face that same issue with all my faculty and my colleagues. And then just over the years, just so many great students that have come through. And honestly, the best part of being a professor, in my opinion, isn't the things that I accomplished, the papers that I've written and the research grants that I've worked on. It's really the students and seeing how they have gone out and, become very successful on their own right. And it's just very, very rewarding. And to know that maybe I played a small role in that. I mean, Jim is successful because Jim was going to be successful doing whatever he chose to do in life, but playing a small part in that and helping people along their way is just it's just a very gratifying, fulfilling thing to do in life. Not that other things aren't, you could do lots of other things and find fulfillment. But at any rate, this has been a very positive experience for me and my family and my wife. So it's been great.
I got a question. So 2 professors in the family, 4 kids, I believe.
Yes,
Who takes care of the checkbook?
my wife takes care of the checkbook.
I figured with the business
Yeah,
major, so she
yeah,
takes care of all of it, and you get to get out of that.
I got out of that. We divided things up along the way. Most notably, I told her that I really didn't like changing diapers. And she said, well, I don't like killing bugs. And I'm like, well, that sounds like a fair trade-off. And she said, so if you're in the basement and I'm upstairs and I see a bug and I scream, you got to come all the way upstairs and kill it. I'm like, that's fine. So then what I did not figure on is the diapers go away. Okay. And so
She
there are no
outsmarted
more
you.
diapers, right? And I've been killing bugs. But now, get this, now we have grandkids. So it's back to nope, you're on diaper duty again. So I don't know. I think this might even out fairly over today is actually our 39th wedding anniversary. So
Well,
I think it's going to even
congratulations.
out eventually. So
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
That
Awesome.
is
thanks.
awesome. I too, my wife would tell you, Holly, John, I think you've met Holly at least. I think
Yes.
you've met her. I can't remember, but and you've met a few of my crazy kids, but I've got 4 kids, and I was like super dad for the first kid, and then by the time the 4th one's come around, Maggie is 3. She'll be 4 in August. My baby is 12 years old. She just turned 12.
And you're getting
Abby
old.
Rose. I was like super dad. I was all over the diapers. I was helping. I never really got up at night. I never really got tagged in there. That was Mama. Holly's a wonderful mother, but she would tell you my rate of involvement and helpfulness went steeply declined from first child to last child.
It happens.
I was always willing to change. We're totally off subject. We'll get back on, Jacob, I promise. But I was totally willing to do whatever they needed, with the
Me
exception
too.
of I never gave a bath. I never got into the bath game. Of course, I've got 3 girls and 1 boy. Not that that matters, but Mama Holly always did the baths, and I don't know that I've ever been a bath and done a bath. But diapers, I changed the
You know,
diapers, and there's
it's
nothing
like
worse for new parents than that very first diaper.
I
The
know.
tar and I can't pronounce any words, but the marconium or whatever it's called is that's the real deal. You're in the game when
Yeah.
diaper number 1 shows up.
Well, the key to a happy marriage is kind of dividing up and finding the things that, you know, you share it all. So you take the good with the bad.
Absolutely. Nothing better than having the right spouse. So I'm going to switch. I'm going to go into the next one, next question, and just, you know, obviously you've shared your background, John. You've talked about why you got into teaching, the rewarding career. Um, what kind of advice, you've seen a lot. You've seen the education and academic institution change over the years. It's evolving, and I think it's kind of a slow follower, but it's evolving to the newer technologies, the new way of teaching. It's a different group of kids in how they learn, the manners, the respect, the whole gamut of how they come in and learn. Kids learn so much faster, more rapid. We're more of a digital technology. But what kind of advice would you give for a freshman coming into college? Especially an engineer, like what would you say? We might have somebody that's parents listening, it's in engineering, they're trying to help their kids kind of find out what do they want to be. I think a lot of people get intimidated by engineering, of like, man, it's too hard, it's too much, I can't do that. You got to be super smart. I think they're all, I don't know, they're fallacies to me. That's not that. I think if you've got an attitude and aptitude and you're willing to learn, you can be a good engineer because there's so many different disciplines and sub-disciplines of it. But what advice would you give for maybe a parent guiding their child, or for maybe a new maybe we'll have a freshman, somebody about to go into school, listening to the podcast someday. What advice would you give them?
Great question, man. Multifaceted there. Met with a lot of parents over the years. You know, when I was serving as acting dean, I did a lot of recruiting, went to a lot of high schools. And honestly, I think my main message is um, engineering is difficult. I don't doubt that. I think lots of college majors are difficult in different ways, but it's doable. And I don't think a student would be there if they were not capable of it. In other words, we don't really admit students that aren't capable of getting it done. I think a lot of it comes down to choices that students make, trying to balance, you know, school, sleep, and social life is kind of the three intersecting circles there. And you got to decide how you want to do it. I do find that a lot of students come into college and they want it all now. They want to work, they want to have money, they want to have a great social life. And you have to make trade-offs, honestly. And so I think an important aspect is making sure that as a student, you have a balance in your life where, like, if you need money, well, then you should take out a loan rather than working, because now you're working, your academics are suffering because you're trying to work 8 hours a day and get an engineering degree, which is virtually impossible. Um, and so you're hurting your future earning capability, which is going to be off the chart when you get your engineering degree or your business degree. Talking to Raegan here, your earning potential is 4 years away. So do what you need to do to be successful during that 4 years. And then the second thing that I always tell students is don't quit. Like, we will literally have students come in and get a C on an exam, on one exam, and say, well, I guess I'm not cut out to be an engineer because I got straight A's in high school. And then I get here to the engineering school, I got a C on an exam. I need to rethink my whole life path. Like, oh my gosh, like, be resilient. You know what I mean? Like, roll with it a little here. Like, take your C and move on, dude. Like, uh, get a C in the class. I don't care. Keep going. Honestly, it gets easier, in my opinion. The material gets more difficult in some respect, but you become smarter and you become adjusted and you learn the professors and you know them and you become part of the family. And honestly, it gets easier. I don't know that every engineering student would say, oh, my senior year was so easy. It's not easy, but you're smarter, more resilient, capable of doing the work. So I really, and this doesn't just apply to engineering, it's college. Stick with it. Don't quit. You're here. You were meant to be here. Get your degree. You are going to be set with a college degree. So stay with it. I always tease my class that it's really just an elaborate hazing process, right? It's like joining the fraternity or the sorority. We make you jump through all these hoops, knowing that you're only going to use a fraction of it. It's not necessarily the stuff we teach you, it's that we make you jump through hoops. And that when you get done, you're good at jumping through hoops. And so you learn to deal with business adversity and people that are hard to work with and problems. And by jumping through the hoops, you become more capable. And along the way, we did actually teach you a few things that you're going to use. So it's a very complex sort of scenario, but that's kind of my thoughts on how it all works. And every individual is different, but don't quit. That's the main thing. Just stick with it and get your degree, and you're going to be very successful in life.
Yeah, I understand that completely, especially because like when you were mentioning, working at one point in my, academic career, I was working full time, at a grocery store. And it's just because I was wanting money now, and I saw my academics suffer. I wasn't getting those A's that I was used to getting. I was getting, low B's on quizzes and all this stuff that normally, you shouldn't be getting that on those things. And it's because I was getting that burnout. And I saw that you teach classes in year 3 and year 4 for students. Do you see a lot of burnout with these students later on, especially because I know engineering has a lot of, homework, and it's a lot of studying and stuff like that. I would say more than business probably. So what kind of burnout do you see at your students? And I guess how would you recommend students to combat that?
We do see a little of it. I tend to teach mostly juniors, seniors, and graduate students, so I'm not teaching freshmen and sophomores as much. We tend to lose the largest percentage of our students who switch majors or even drop out of college during that freshman year. But yeah, they're tired. Everybody's tired by the end, right? You're burnout. One good thing that we have at JB Speed School at the University of Louisville is that our students co-op. So they are a semester, after 4 or 5 semesters, they start co-oping and they go out and work, and they work full time and they're getting paid. And so that gives you a break from the grind of 5 classes and homework. And then you come back to school, and that kind of gives you the break from getting up every morning and going to work at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever. So we kind of have this alternating thing that not only gives our students fantastic experience, but it breaks up the grind. And so I always advise students, like, try to do an internship. You just need to break your mind up from classes, sitting there listening to professors lecture at you all day. You need to break up your routine. So internships are fantastic. I don't know. I think, Jim, you made a comment that students are different today. I do think they've had different experiences than we had. Certainly my experience, because I'm much older, but it's still the same experience. You still have to come in, you got to read, you got to do work, you got to demonstrate your proficiency. And I do think this will get into another topic, but we're going to see huge changes in how this is being done in the future. The way we deliver education, it's going to have to change. This massive infrastructure and all this is going to have to change, and it will change. Somebody will figure out how to do it. But and then to your question or your comment, Jacob, like how students will react to that and whether they get burnt out, that will all change. Lots of innovation is coming.
And I think COVID, so you've got two things that are driving that, John, is I think you've got the allure and the unknown and what's coming at us from AI and just how we digest content, how we learn, the ability to have we're almost like cyborgs today as humans with that. If you got a smartphone in your hand, we're a first edition cyborg is what we are. Think about the access to information is a search away. It's a question away. So I think you've got AI that's coming in, and then I think you've got where was I going with this? I almost lost my train of thought. So you've got AI that's coming in, and then I think you had this big social experiment of is in-person work, learning, etc. Is it necessary? And I think COVID fast forwarded that of for
Very
at least the
much.
workforce, and you saw everybody kind of go about right, and they shifted to everybody was forced to go remote. And then the world looked at it, and some businesses said, well, why do I have this brick and mortar? Why do I have all this overhead? Why do I need people in the middle? These people, they at first were getting more done than ever. And they were, they were focused. They didn't have the distractions of work. Their work didn't drop off. And so this is Jimmy's opinion only, but I feel like everybody kind of went to this, remote. I've worked remote all my life. Always been remote for 25 years. But now I think you've kind of seen this drawback of, and this I'm going somewhere with it, but I think you've seen this drawback now to where humans need human interaction. You're at your most creative you're arguably at your, your happiest. A lot of humans need that interaction. They get energy off of other humans. They get creativity off of other humans. They get more work done off of being in collaborative situations. And obviously, different careers are different on this. Sales have always kind of been out on their own animals, hunting, farming,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. Engineers have always been, at least in our industry, their best when they're sitting next. They're in a group. We've got a whiteboard session. We got a discovery session. We can all work and go. And so I think education is going to go down this path. Is what's AI and all the technology going to lend to? Because it's certainly, there's a future where you don't need a school. You don't need anything other than you need an internet connection and a device that allows you to stream, allows you to learn, allows you to read, allows you to hear. That is a future possibility. I don't think it's the most effective way because humans learn different ways. Some hear, some learn, some have to write, some have to see. And then, do you really need all this overhead and infrastructure? I think there's
Yeah.
going to be a happy medium, but I am seeing where people want to get back together. My industry, our industry, like they're so excited to get back in a room with their partners and our customers and shake hands again and see each other and be around each other and just feel that energy. So, a long
I
rambling
couldn't
way
agree
of
more.
saying education's going to evolve, but I don't know. I think we'll figure it out.
Well,
What
I
are your
think,
all's thoughts on that?
yeah, I'd be interested to hear.
I mean, I think there's definitely innovation. I mean, I think we saw it, especially I saw a lot in my college career because COVID hit while I was in college, So my first semester, I was all in person. And then randomly, hey, I'm taking classes online and teachers having to figure out, hey, how are we going to give these students our test? And so we're on Zoom looking at each other while we take tests and there's lockdown browsers, there's all these different innovations. And now we have, Chat GPT and some professors are like, oh no, we don't want students using Chat GPT to write our essays. Or, I think there's always some new innovation out there. And, education is going to have to adapt to that, especially because I think it's growing very fast. Is it exponential? I don't really know yet. But I guess my question with it is, I kind of what's the biggest problem do you think education's facing right now because of all this innovation?
Well, COVID was a good example, right? Like Jim said, we went on spring break that year and then we're told, don't come back from spring break, teach the rest of your class remotely and be prepared to teach remotely in the fall. It's like, I'm sure a lot of people were freaking out. I was a little like, well, I'll figure out how to use Blackboard and, video and try and redo my whole class to be video. So we all adapted. And I think we're going to have to continue to adapt to deal with like ChatGPT. People are freaking out like, oh, I won't be able to give essays in my class. Well, maybe we need to move beyond asking students to use essays. They were using Google and stealing phrases and sentences from Google, or they were using Chegg to get all the solutions from your textbook that you were using anyway. Like, it's just speeding up the inevitability that we got to move beyond that. Like, I think of the way students learn. Jim, you said students, everybody learns differently, right?
Right.
Not the way we currently teach now. We bring all the freshmen in, we put them in, they move along in these little batches, like they're like in boxes, and you either pass or fail that class, and almost
Right.
everybody passes, and then your box moves forward. It's batch processing. Like Henry Ford figured out how inefficient batch processing was in the early 1900s and invented the assembly line. So why aren't we running students like an assembly line? So I think of it like a horse race. Line up the 500 freshmen and let them loose and let them complete little modules. And if you complete your modules faster, you move forward faster. I think there are tons of students who could complete the engineering curriculum in 2 years, okay, and cut their cost in half. I don't think everybody can. And I think there's some students that need 7 years to complete it. So why do we lump everybody together and teach them in batches? Why don't we make this more of a like a progressive assembly sort of situation? Now, I don't know all the implications of that. I don't know how you run a university like that with everybody at different levels, how the professors would interact. I'm just saying it seems awfully comfortable and convenient where a professor walks in to a class of 40 students, teaches them, lecture them up, PowerPoint them to death, give them exams, and then the whole class moves forward. That seems awfully easy on the professor. Like maybe we need to innovate and use AI to recreate this entire educational experience. And some people can finish it in 2 years, some people take 4. You pay as you go. I don't know. There's a lot of implications here, but there have to be new models that come out of it. Do we really need 200 buildings on the University of Louisville campus in order to deliver education? 200 buildings that are, many of them are very old, like the amount of infrastructure and what's the utilization of those buildings? Is it 50% utilization? I'll bet it's below that in most of these buildings. So the cost is driven by all of these decisions. And so my fear, honestly, as a smaller university like U of L, somebody big like Purdue, Stanford, MIT, they're going to figure out how to deliver this engineering education using, Oculus goggles and who knows what.
Apple
ChatGPT.
Provision. They
What's
just came
that?
out with the new Apple Provision.
Yeah,
They're
the
gonna
Apple
go,
For a
product
low
that just
price
came
of
out, which is
$3,500.
$3,500, by the
Yeah.
way. That
Yeah.
may be prohibitive, but
Right.
somebody's going to figure out how to do this, and they're going to be able to do it instead of 25,000 a year or 50,000 a year. They're going to learn to do it for 5,000 a year, and all the students are going to go that route. So I think universities, especially smaller ones like U of L, need to get ahead of this curve quickly and try to figure out how to do this in an innovative way. Because if you don't, I think you're going to go the way of the lamplighters walking down lighting gas lamps on the street, or
Yeah.
candle makers. So innovation is very rapid and very quick. And you said maybe not exponential, but even if it's close to exponential, it happens in the blink of an eye. And so I think we need to be ready for that.
I think one thing you're saying is like it's the institution as it exists today, academics, college in general, it's ripe for some form of disruption. It really is. And
Absolutely.
one of the things I always loved about Dr. Usher, John, for you all, Raegan and Jacob, is here's a guy that's done it for 36 years. And there's certain ones that you had a professor. I'm sure you got one probably right now, Raegan, Jacob, I'm sure you had one this is the way it is. That's the only way it can be. Listen to me. This is how it's going to be. Do it my way. Everybody follow this box, follow my process, and don't ask for change. Incapable of change. And so one of the things I always appreciated about, and I said it at the beginning of the podcast, was when Dr. Usher walked in the room and his approach to education and his approach to the relationship with the students and his approach to how he taught the material it felt at the time, it was like there were very few that were like him that could do it that way. And so here we are at really the twilight of your career, John,
Yeah.
I mean, you got a year left, a year and a half. What do we got left? Year?
About a year until I retire fully.
Gotcha. And so he's still looking. And I would say if I was in one of his classes today, that he has evolved with the times and he's always put the student's interest in front of his own. And it's not about what's best for him. It's always been about what's best for the students. And so when you find those educators, I've got a massive respect for education people. And I think some people do it really well. And there's no more important job in our society than the people that educate our children, ourselves, and not. And some really have that heart. And John's one that's always had it. And he's innovative and had relationship. And I'm gonna ask a question out of this. So Raegan, you hadn't got to talk yet. I threw Raegan on the spot today. It's like it's not even day one. Day one's Monday, but I said, come listen to the podcast. And so she's here. But when you all think, I'll ask Raegan first and then Jacob, and we'll get close to wrapping up because we know I talk too long and too much. And but it's been really fun so far. Appreciate it and having a good time, John. So Raegan, favorite characteristics of your teachers? Like when I want to see how many tie back to John, because I'll wrap it back in. But when you look at your teachers, your favorite teachers from your first year of college, or maybe even back to high school, what words would you use to describe the ones that really made the biggest impact on you? And then when you're done, Jacob, you go.
I would have to say, obviously the topic of this conversation, probably off book. Like they don't come into the classroom and say, open up your books and turn to whatever page and here's the 7 bullet points that we're going to go over of the overview of the presentation today. They're more, what do you guys want to learn? They ask questions to their students of, it just helps us engage more. And I think that when you're coming into their classroom versus like just more of like a traditional, I guess, college lecture hall, you're more engaged, you're more willing to learn. They bring a certain energy to the table that I don't think that most colleges have. And I don't know, I've had like 2 professors out of my 8 at Kentucky that really made me shift my mindset of what education should be and what I wanted the rest of my college career to look like.
25%. That's about what I would expect.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Jacob, what about you? You had a little more college experience, but who stood out to you?
I mean, there's many professors that stood out. I think every management professor at UGA is outstanding. I could rave about every single one of them.
Are you giving the blanket answer?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to one set. I'm saying
the podcast.
They were all great. All the management professors are great. I don't know about some of the other business professors, I'll talk about Marty Parker.
On our
he's
advisory
great.
board. He's awesome. Absolutely.
And
awesome.
I think what really sets, those professors apart is their enthusiasm. They want to learn themselves, and they want to teach you as well. They want you to be as excited to learn about the material as they are to teach you the material. And that's inside and out of the classroom. They want to help you get internships, to learn. And so it's those professors that aren't just coming and, teach and leave. It's the professors that, want to sit down with you after, and kind of help you with your career and kind of learn outside of the classroom. Because I think internships, like you said, are so important. I think the majority of the stuff that you learn that you're going to utilize in the workforce, you learn in your internships and outside of the classroom when you try to get that extra help. And then kind of a curveball is humorous. One time I was at this conference and they were like, leaders need to be humorous. And I go, all right, what does that mean? They're like, you don't really think of it, but I think when you have someone that's humorous, you kind of relate to them more. If you can get someone to smile or laugh, you're gonna, have that greater connection with them. So having a professor that, can crack a joke during the lecture, it's not all serious, you can have a good time. It's more enjoyable and you kind of connect to the material better. So.
That's awesome. So I heard out of you all just relatable, cares about relationships. They got a good energy. I think you've got the model there of you want to be a successful college teacher. If you're those 3 things and you can have some fun, that's one of our core values is we share with new customers at Zion is like life is too short to not have fun. And I can get as serious as I need to be, but I certainly don't want to be serious all the time, every day it's like, we're not interested in that. You got to have fun and life and business can be parallel. School and life can be parallel. I don't think you got to separate and make them these binary acts. And so I think that's pretty cool. One of our things, John, I'll share with you, and then we'll wrap up because we try to keep these a little bit under 45 minutes. And I could talk for another hour to you, and we could just chop it up. But is our main vision statement at Zion Solutions, and we spend a lot of time on this. And some people think that's not a necessary activity, or some organizations don't go through it until they're in a place of crisis in their business, or they've had some acquisition and they're trying to slam 2 different cultures together, or they've got a leadership changeover. I think every business should go through this and keep it fresh. And we certainly did it when we started Zion back in last year. We've been up less than really business 12 months, really about 18 months overall. that we've had the framework of Zion. But we put the vision statement together, which is your vision should be, what do you aspire to be one day? And it's to deliver memorable experiences and to guide intelligent change. And that's not just we build warehouse systems and we put together conveyor and we put up racks and we sell robots and we integrate humans with software and machines, and that's what we do as our business. But you could almost use that in the education system. Is I think one of this, why we're here talking, why we're still friends, why we're professional acquaintances, John, is, you created a memorable experience in your classroom, and everybody seeks that in life. And so that's what we wake up every day, what we hope to be, what we hope everything we touch and do is to create that memorable experience. And then you could argue guide intelligent change, but I think you did that as well in your classes. All of them is, you got to adapt to the class. Don't make the class adapt to you. I think that's a big portion of, I had professors that did that, and then I had professors that expected me to adapt to their class, and that the experience was totally different depending on which side of the perspective or which side of the spectrum the teachers took on that. And because I think every class is unique, and then even inside your classes, you've got these little subgroups of your overachievers,
sure.
Your super studious kids, and then you had people like me that would sit in the back and just, I'd do a crossword puzzle and I'm taking notes, but I'm listening the same, but maybe I wasn't as good as some of the super studious ones. But memorable experiences and guiding intelligent change. You got any final comments on that? And then we'll hit you with a fun question about your summer activities.
All right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think it's almost, I don't know, I've sort of spent my career being famous for sort of disarming people. I I despise pretentiousness. Like, I'm so much smarter than you, and I'm gonna get you to think I'm great, right? And I like to disarm people, and friends around me and colleagues could probably give you some examples. I won't go into them, but if somebody who is there who is an elevated sort of type of person, like let's take the president of the university or whoever it may be, I might be the first one to make a joke about that person and disarm them somewhat. And I have numerous times had opportunities to do that. And I'm not talking about a cruel joke. I'm talking about a funny thing where
Yeah.
everyone laughs and that person
Keep it
laughs
light.
and that,
Yeah.
right. And keep it light. And then that person will come up to me later and say, that was so awesome that you did that. That just made me feel like I was part of the group rather than I'm separate from the group. And so I've been very big about that in the classroom. I want to be disarming. I want the students to feel comfortable in the classroom around me. I don't want it to be an us versus them situation. And like you mentioned in business, why would you want to have that relationship with your Zion customers, right? That we know exactly what we're doing here. We're smarter than you. You've hired us. We're telling you what, like, that's an adversarial role that's never going to lead to a good design or a good outcome. And so the same thing in the classroom applies in every other life situation. It's about connecting to people and making them feel comfortable with you so that you can work together to achieve a goal. And I know that sounds corny and cliche, but honestly, it works very well. My wife does that in her classroom delivery experience. And I have found that the most successful professionals tend to do that. Like, you think about somebody like Elon Musk, who is a very controversial figure in some circles, but he uses the exact same approach. He memes, he's on Twitter, he's doing this, he's doing that. You may disagree with him, and we disagree with lots of people across the spectrum, but he disarms people. And I just think it's an effective strategy to take a much lighter approach rather than, I'm here, you're there, you listen to me, I will tell you exactly what you need to know. So I think it's a great business strategy that you've got, Jim, and I think that charisma and the way that you handle life, and you put family as being an important variable. if I was in the market for a material handling solution, I would put a lot of weight on that. I really would, because I know that I'm going to get an honest effort, an honest design, an honest cost, because this person who's running the company has a very honest approach towards life and has placed value on intangible factors that are going to end up producing a good outcome. And so I think it's fantastic. I think you're hitting the mark with your strategy there, and I'm so proud of you. I remember you so well as a student. I've interacted with you for many years, and I think we share a lot of common attributes, to be honest with you, in terms of family and faith and charisma and comedy and everything else. So I just wish you the best.
Well, I appreciate that. To hear from a person that you look up to and just never put yourself in an elevated status, but always respected. And I think you can have respect without having to go beyond, and
Right.
you can have respect without the ego, maybe is a good way to put it. And I think Raegan's probably learning that the first time she talked to me, and I still struggle with this. I don't struggle with it. I struggle to get other people to realize this is, yeah, I own the business. Yeah, I'm a co-founder. I'm one of four. Yeah, my title's the president. I get all those things. There's times I have to put my president hat on and make big
Right.
decisions and guide the ship and do that. But I'm just another person on the team. And Jacob's been working with me now, and hopefully he can attest to that. It's like, you did this in the classroom well. And it's why I always respected it, is you never put yourself in a position of, we knew you were the teacher. You knew you were the teacher.
Right.
There was never any other reason other than you knew that, and then you disarmed and you met people in the middle where they needed to be met. And it's just life's too short. I say it all the time. It's easy to be who you are. And I think there's some people that don't like that. There's some people that absolutely cannot handle that in the professional world. I see it on LinkedIn sometimes. They probably think I'm a nut job and like, I can't believe this guy's a president of a company. He's got a hat on backwards and he's using TikTok and he's on LinkedIn. But that's who I am, and that's who we are, and that's who Zion's going to be, and that's who the team. You see this youth and these great, smart people we're going to put around, and there's people that are attracted to that. And we want to find those customers, and we're going to find those customers. And it's okay to say no to some people. I think as you get
For
older
sure.
in life, you just kind of get a little. I've always probably been a tad too overconfident, but it's okay as you get older in life, to know where you're at and just be like, there's people that in the majority, it's absolutely the majority of customers and people that you work with. Totally off on a tangent, but it's the majority of people. There's a lot of people that you can naturally attract to, and customers. And we say it all the time. We're different. We want to be different. We're going to be different. And we're going to find those customers that want to work with people like us that are different. We fed 200 warehouse associates this week at a Go Live. John, we built a warehouse in Dallas, Texas, a brownfield, redesigned it for Tecovas boots. You may have heard of Tecovas or not. They're a new boot brand. Pretty cool.
Yes.
Really cool brand, hip brand, really great people. Their whole C-suite was there. We had a go live. It went great. And we brought in one of my partners and co-founders, Drew Eubank, brought in 2 food trucks. Now, it wasn't easy to get them coordinated, but he did. And we fed 200 people that have to sit in a hot semi truck and load it and unload it all day, that have to handle returns, that have to walk through this warehouse. And I had so much pride in just going out. That's what I love doing. I love helping people's job be easier. I love relating to that group. It's not about, look at us, look at me, look at what Zion did, look at what Tecovas did. It's about, how do you make other humans' lives better? And
Exactly.
I think you can do that in a good, easy way, and you can be transparent, you can be honest, and you can be authentic about how you do that. So totally went off
Fantastic.
subject, but that's the culture we got. You're a big part of that. You had a profound impact on my college career. I wouldn't have been in industrial engineering if it hadn't been for Dr. Usher. I'll switch back to Dr. Usher now. And he got me excited about, this is where you need to be, because I came in, I wasn't prepared. I was intelligent. I didn't really have the work ethic because I didn't have to have it in high school. and I came in with a solid C average, and I didn't know if engineering was for me. I hadn't spent the time in it. I wasn't passionate about it. I don't come from a family that did it. I didn't have a lot of the things, but I thought I would be good at it because I had good math and science. And when John gave us the overview presentation of all the engineerings, the fundamentals of engineerings um, presentation, I always remember him posting up, here's who hires industrial engineers. And it was Disney, it was Coca-Cola, it was UPS. I happened to be working at UPS, and I'm like, that's the engineering degree for me. I'm not smart enough nor have the desire to sit in a cubicle and design stuff that people are going to drive their cars over, which was civil and mechanical. I said it's the engineering of the people, and you get to work with people. And I said that's where I'm going to be. And you brought that to life. You got me excited about it, and here we are, 25 years later, talking about it. So
It's funny. I look back and I remember meeting you and learning more about you. And I don't even know if I had evaluated your academics or whatever, but I mean, you wouldn't have been at speed school if you weren't capable of getting it done, like I said before. But when you told me you were a wrestler and I looked up how successful a wrestler you were, I was like, well, that's a person who's going to be successful because I mean, while I was never a great athlete, I mean, I can hit a golf ball and shoot a basketball, and I played baseball, for many years and stuff like that, but I wasn't a successful athlete. But to me, someone who can be a championship caliber athlete, well, what can't you accomplish? You know what I mean? Like you lifted weights, you ran, you've practiced, you dedicate, you know what I mean? And so that attribute of being able to give up the pleasure in life, the rest easy, like work hard attitude, like if that can be applied in that one area, well, why can't that be applied in many other areas? And so I think that that's a fantastic attribute that shows that you can forego instant gratification and deal with a little pain and struggle and strive towards a goal. Well, let's apply that in engineering. Let's apply that in business. Let's apply that with your family. Let's apply that in lots of areas of life. So I think successful students and successful people in life find a way to channel that drive in productive areas of their life and avoid the non-productive areas of life. So, while U of L played a role in your success, what percentage of your success? I don't know. I think there's a lot more internal that drives that success that you should be proud of and that your parents gave you and your life experiences have given you. University plays a role in that, certainly a big role, but it's not the full answer. So I think you're going to apply that in your business, and I think you're going to be very successful with it. So
yeah. Well, I appreciate that and the kind words, and it's reciprocated back. That we turned into a love fest here at the end of the podcast, hadn't we, everybody in the audience? But that's good. But there's a lot of mutual respect, and I've learned over my career that you take the time to appreciate the people that have helped get you where you're at, and just tell them thanks, because we're all humans. We like to hear words of affirmation. We like to be able to you don't need them necessarily, but it's good to hear it from people you respect and have a high level of respect for, which I do with Dr. Usher. So let's do the final question, and then we'll exit out. Jacob's giving me the look. He's probably chatted me. I don't have the chat up that you're over. You've gone too long.
I mean, definitely over, but it's okay.
I'm going to give Jacob, like, he just graduated. So. He gets a C for keeping me on track today. C,
well,
maybe
I
a
can't
C
stop
plus.
a good conversation, and
That's
so.
Good. That's what I love about this podcast. I know it's a little long. Raegan, it's the first time you're like just battlefield promotion today. We've talked about it, but this is what I love. It's none of this is scripted. We had a couple questions we threw our way. It's just casual, people talking, having a good conversation. So I will ask the last question though. John and I both share a love for summer vacations. We have a love for RVing. We have a love for national parks, and so with 2 professors in the house, you all had a lot of free time and 4 kids for the summer. And favorite or highlights of favorite summer vacations, national parks, or something that maybe you and the family went to, or favorite one-time story. John, which one
Oh
would you
man,
share with us?
it's too many. We have. I'll give you the very quick synopsis. So my wife's sister lives in Portland, Maine, and we would go up to visit. Lynn's parents, my wife's parents, had a place on Sebago Lake up there, which is a massive lake, beautiful lake. But nobody could really house us. When you have 4 kids, it's tough. So we bought an RV, an old used beat up RV, and we would take it to Maine. Over the years, we realized, hey, we have a lot of states. Why don't we sort of go to Maine every other year? And on the off years, we'll try to pick up states. So we set on this quest to get to all the kids to all 50 states, which we ultimately did do. Didn't drive the RV to Hawaii. We had to fly there, and we took a cruise to Alaska. But honestly, and we're getting ready to go back. We're going to go to Sebago here coming soon with the whole family. So we're talking all the kids, their significant others, grandkids. It's a big logistics operation. I might need Zion to help me figure out how to get everyone up there and all the supplies and everything. But yeah, no, it's great. And then I see you're posting pictures of national parks, and man, we've been to a lot of them, right? Zion and Bryce and Yellowstone, and it's just a fantastic thing. And our kids, life is about creating memories, for your kids, in my opinion. And we've tried to create sort of memorable experiences for the kids. And it's funny, no matter how hard you try, the most memorable ones are always the disasters and the things that went wrong, which is another good life lesson here. That, when things go wrong, my wife always says, it'll be a funny story someday. And she is 100% right. So I tell people, just get out, go places. It's always the unexpected thing. Like, well, we had planned to do this, but it didn't work out. We wrecked the camper. We had to get it fixed. But man, look what happened when we were at the repair place and we had to get it's all that kind of stuff. So you can't experience that without getting out and doing it. So it doesn't have to be a $20,000 flight to Rome to have a great experience. Sometimes it's hopping in the car, hopping in the camper, and just going somewhere. And man, that ice cream you had was the best you ever tasted, just because of the experience that was involved. And so that's what it's all about, especially when you have a family. Just get them out there, give them some experiences. So I'm looking forward to the break here coming up, the vacation. So I don't know, Jim, you got one planned yourself, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, we leave. I'm putting the 4 kids. I'm packing them in the RV tomorrow morning, and we're heading down to Florida for a little vacation. It's going to be our first vacation this
Fantastic.
summer, and we're doing
That's so
something. I'll give you a challenge when you get retired, because you may
okay.
not have done this, but my wife gets these. I call them crazy ideas, but they're great. We get our kids. Our kids have been everywhere. Kentucky's got a fabulous state park program, or a state park
Absolutely.
system. It's one of the nicest in the U.S. Most people don't realize that in Kentucky, because you don't know if you don't know. But my kids have been to 47 states. We've missed Nebraska somehow, but we've got a 1 year
That's a
goal
tough
of
one.
going to all 120 Kentucky counties, and we're a little over
Nice.
50% done. And my 12-year-old's writing a little blog. We go to the county seat, we take a picture at the courthouse, and we're find somewhere to
Oh,
eat or do. And so that's the latest, greatest Shaw family adventure. But I'm taking
we're headed to Barkley next week. So I've never been to Barkley. So we're
we're
going down
there,
there,
and
and
4th of July, we're going down. We're going to hit
good deal.
Western Kentucky the 4th of July. So I put chaos in an RV. I've got 4 little
That's,
crazy kids, and we roll into town like I
I
don't know
know.
what we'd roll into town like, and we
I've
just
always called it glorious chaos. Like, it's
it
chaos,
is.
but you got to sort
Yes.
of revel in it and just let
Yes, we
it
do.
go and deal with it. But it's glorious.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's wrap it up. So, John, Dr. Usher, greatly appreciated. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I hope everybody out there that's still with us, there's going to be some really good stuff that we can chop up out of this in terms of just your career and all you've accomplished. Um, and which is a lot. And the numerous lives you've impacted, and you don't have the ego to take credit for that, but we'll tell you, you've probably impacted people more than you really know. And I call it the invisible thread of life. Like, your impact on me has impacted Raegan. Is it going to impact Jacob? Is going to impact so many customers? And so we carry that with us through life. And so for that, I thank you.
You're
Be
welcome. Thank
proud of
you.
the career you've had. And there were a lot of really good teachers that we had that give due to the profession. And U of L's had a fabulous education experience there. I didn't take a traditional college, but you were a big part of that. And so I've always appreciated that. I don't probably haven't thanked you enough for that over the years, and just glad we got to spend an hour and a half or hour or 45 minutes or whatever we've spent together and just hear a little bit more from you, and hope some ex-students will have to share this, John. You have to find a way to get it shared and out, and get Pratik to put it on the U of L, maybe LinkedIn, and let some ex-students that'd love to hear from you again, I'm sure. So
It's great. Well, thanks so much for having me on. It's so
Yeah.
great to be here with you and be with Jacob and Raegan, and just wish you guys the best of luck with Zion and with everything else in life. And maybe we can do it again sometime.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Jacob, Raegan, you all got any finals? Just smiles? Good. Yeah.
Just a huge big smile and a thank you.
There you go.
Perfect.
All right. Well, we're all done.
And we're off.
Thanks, everybody.